And joining me now is Palestinian-American Nader Souri. His 12 relatives were tragically killed by an Israeli airstrike on a Greek Orthodox Church in Gaza City on Thursday. Nader, thank you so much for making time. I know this is a very difficult time for you and your family. First, just tell us a little bit about what you've learned about your extended family and why were they at, or how did they end up at that church seeking refuge?
Thank you for having me, Ayman. So, my father was born in Gaza, and I have many family members in the region, including in Gaza. And they had moved there from their houses to the Church of St. Porphyrius, which is the third oldest church in the world, a few days beforehand to really, avoid the bombardments that were happening near and around their home in the neighborhood of Riman. The church was supposed to be, a safe haven for them, and many hundreds of Palestinian Christians and Muslims gathered in that church. Unfortunately, in such an incredibly important and historic place of worship, with the bombardments, it did affect them directly. 12 family members were killed in this tragic attack.
I am so sorry for your loss, Ned. I think a lot of our viewers who are watching this probably surprised to hear that Gaza has a small Palestinian Christian community. I know that you have spent time going there. Just talk to us about what that community is like and what your experiences have been when you went to Gaza.
Yeah, I think it's important to start with the fact that there is actually the existence of the Palestinian Christian community. It's naturally one of the oldest in the world. And it's true in Gaza, we don't even count to 1,000, but it's a community worth of protection. More broadly speaking, Christian Palestinians are about 1 million people worldwide. And listen, they are normal people. They are merchants, they are clergymen, they are business people, and have really always lived in harmony with either Muslim or Jewish brethren in and outside of Israel and Palestine. So it's a historic community. It's reflective of Palestinian society, which is diverse, whether religiously, culturally, or politically. And a key tenet of this community is coexistence and the prevention of violence.
We've been trying to focus a lot on the stories of the Palestinians inside Gaza. What do you want the world to know? I mean, you have family there, and you've suffered this unspeakable tragedy of losing relatives. But what do you want the world to know about what is going on right now on the ground and what Palestinians inside Gaza are going through? I mean, obviously, Palestinian Christians are not supporters of Hamas, and there's always that attempt to link Palestinians, as we heard earlier, with that broad brushstroke.
Yeah, so a couple things, Ayman. So number one, I mean, going back to your earlier question, like some of the memories I have of going to Gaza, certainly before the blockade and the siege, where one of a typical Eastern Mediterranean city, bustling with a beach and really, people with ambition for life. Unfortunately, a lot of Gazans, most Gazans, and including my family, never had the opportunity to realize their full ambition. So there is an underlying issue that we need to think about here and solve. Then secondly, there's a story behind the numbers. Just a few examples. Two of my cousins, their wives and children were all sheltering at the church, were killed. One of those cousins and his wife had just welcomed a baby girl. They were robbed of that future. One of my other cousins survived, but he lost 3 of his kids under the rubble. So there are real stories behind the numbers that we continue to see in the media and social media. And quite frankly, for us outside of Gaza, there's a feeling of helplessness. We, like the rest of the world, are witnessing this human tragedy unravel through social media or on the news, and the humanitarian situation on the ground is even more dire than one can imagine. Communication is really tough, very sporadic, and we have deep ongoing concerns for the safety of the surviving members of our family there, and quite frankly, for all innocent civilians wherever they are.
Nader, I pray for your family's safety, and I just can't emphasize how important it is to hear that there are stories behind the numbers. I know this is a very difficult time for you and your family, but thank you so much for joining us and sharing that story with us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Ayman.
Of course.